Um, all right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Adeke. You know what? Good evening, Adeyemi Sola. Good evening, Marvelous. Good evening, Mercy. Good evening, Sharon. Good evening, Pelumi. I hope that um we are doing well. Thank you for letting me know how your day has been. How's your week been? I would like you to use the chat to let me know. How's your week been? What I like to always ask the question like, um, what was something either great or not great that happened to you this week? Like, what's something that maybe if you think about this week, it sort of really stands out to you? If you could use the chat to share with me, I would love that. What stood out to you about your week? I hope you can hear me. Oh, I think you said she got a new client. Amazing. Happy for you. I'm glad you did. I'm waiting to hear more from us. I love us to have a very interactive session. So how's your week been? That's my question. What great or not so great things stood out for you this week? That's what I'm asking. And I'm looking into the chat for responses. Yay! Esther said she just finished her IPAN exam. Amazing. I wish you the very, very best. I hope it all turns out well. I'm waiting to hear from more people. Maybe I should use this as an opportunity to let you know that the way we run Emerging Circle is an interactive thing. So it's not just a play, Emerging Circle is not just a play where you're at the back end of your own phone just listening. No, you're going to be participating. So I would like to hear from you. Pelumi says our week has been dramatic, but she's grateful for God's help. That's amazing. Sharon says that Ade was stressful, but thank God. I have more people on this call than that. So I'm still waiting to hear from people. My question is, how has your day been? Okay. Marvelous says it's been a relatively normal week. Aderensola said, I've just been trying to rest as much as I can before the new week. Okay, those are awesome things to do. On my own end, I feel like this week has been an interesting week. Well, as the year winds down, I feel like there's also that mental winding down that begins to happen to us. And um, you know, that kind of thing where your brain and your body energy begins to put you little by little into that holiday mood. I feel like that's already kind of happening to me this week. But I still have a number of things to finish for the rest of the year. So, particularly in my research. So, you know, that kind of thing where you are trying to rest, but at the same time, you're trying to be woke in your resting. That's where I am. So I'm somewhere in between both. Like I need to rest, but I need to ensure that I get these things done. So that's it on my hand. So today, first of all, I should say welcome again to the Emerging Circle. It's such a it's an amazing I'm trying to find a word to use. I wanted to say it's an honor, but I don't think that's even the word that I should use. It's more of a delight. That's the word I should use. It's a delight having you. Like I said, at the onboarding call, that emergency circle is something that my heart always does with joy, because I think of it more like conversations with my people, with my friends and sisters and things like that. And that's exactly how we run the emergency circle. And that's why I said that it's an interactive thing. Even though I do have things to share, I don't think I'm not here with a sense that what I have to share, like this is just about me sharing things with you. It's really about us sharing things together, because even though I have things to share with you, does not mean that you don't have things to like you know some things too, and your life experiences, your journey has impacted some kind of wisdom upon you too. So this is more of an exchange of wisdom between ourselves. And when I say between myself, I mean between myself and everyone, and also even between each other. And that's why I love that our chat room is active. Most of the things I'm going to be doing is going to involve a lot of asking questions. So please, when you are here, be here. That's my point. Be here, engage with me as I ask questions, even as I share things. It doesn't even have to be about asking questions. If something that I'm saying to you resonates with you, you can put something in the chat. If you have, do you understand? If you have maybe an experience or an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about, feel free to put it in the chat. My point is, don't feel like you putting things in the chat is a distraction from what we're doing. It's part of it. That's my point. Like, the whole point of this is actually to have you engaged, also to share your thoughts, share your wisdom. Feel free to see this as a circle of young women like yourself, or sisters who are here to just trade wisdom, to help others, support each other towards growth. So welcome again. Today's in the onboarding, we already talked about how we're going to be having, we have 6 major modules, and then we have like the assignment, the peer mentoring. So it's a mixture of things. We have the live sessions like this, we have the peer mentoring, we have the assignment, and then we have the project. The project, unlike maybe other things you probably have participated, we get the project happen at the end of your events. Here it happens midway. And part of the reason why I think that is great is, first of all, it gives us a time so that at least, all of the festive period is your project times. That way, you don't have to be here. That's first. Second is the fact that it also gives you an opportunity to get feedback why the program is continuing. Don't worry about projects. You learn more about it. It's a very flexible thing. You get to choose what you have to do, but you have to do something. So for the 6 modules, I will be taking most of it. And when I say most of it, I mean at least one of it we have someone else join. That's at least one, if not more. Have someone else join. I usually do that for the married session. I don't know if I'm going to do that for more than that but this first module is usually a place where I set like a grand foundation. That's the word I should use. A ground foundation upon which we are going to be building everything we're doing. Remember, we already said that the goal of the mentorship is more of a comprehensive thing that looks at your whole life as a whole being, not just your career or your business, but you as a person. And of course, part of part of the expression of yourself is the things you do, but your life is bigger than that. And that's why we always try to ensure that different module address different things. But this module is the foundation of it all. And that's why I would admonish that you pay attention. All I'm asking for is attention and intention, and of course interaction. Are we committing to be here? Attention, intention, interaction. Let me know in the chat. If you are here with me, say I'm here with you in the chat. While I'm trying to also pull my, because I would like to present some things. If you are here with me, say I'm here with you. I'm looking into the chat for that. Thank you, Olive. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Folarin Omolola, is Omolola your first name and Folarin your last? Please let me know. Is Omolola your first name and Folarin your last? Or Folarin your first name and Omolola your last? I'm not exactly sure. Both of them can be first names. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm seeing the chat. I need you to be here with me. Thank you. Hi, Esther Okoli, my darling favors younger sister. Good. Thank you. All right. Let me start sharing my. Folarin Omolola, I'm still waiting to hear from you. Omolola is your first name, right? And Folarin is your surname. I'm asking that for 2 reasons. But on text fonts. I don't know. Has she responded already that I didn't see? I don't think so. Okay. Let me just continue while I'm waiting to hear from Omolola Folarin. I want to know which one is your first and which one is your last. I'll let you know what I'm asking when you answer me. So our modules are 6 modules that the 6 M modules, like meaning, mindset, money, multiplication. Well, using them as M words was just a cool thing, to be honest. It was just a cool thing. Sometimes I like that my brain thinks in like words that have similar things. Maybe same letter, the sound, the way the end sound the same way. Do you understand? Things like that. My brain works like that. So okay. Yeah, thank you, Tomisi, for reminding us. Please, could you please rename your device to your actual names? Could you please rename your device to your actual names? Because Zoom, like we said in the on the onboarding call, we actually take attendance of these sessions. And like it's important because once we don't see you in 1 to 2 and we did not hear from you, we assume that you're no longer with us. So please ensure that your name is properly renamed so that when we get at the back end to see, Zoom takes the attendance for us automatically. So we don't necessarily have to do anything. But yeah, it takes the attendance of the name you register with, like the name you entered into this place with. So please ensure that it's properly named. Folarin Omolola, I'm asking which one is your first name? Omolola is your first name or Folarin? Which one is your first name? Which one is your last name? That's what I'm asking. Maybe your network went tripped up before. That was my question to you. Okay, back to what I was saying here. The first module is meaning. And I should say that honestly, I could literally call the first module purpose. I could call it purpose. Apologies. Thank you, Omolola. Ololade Sarah, you don't need to rename because your name is already reflecting. Your name is already reflecting. So it's just for people who probably signed in with accounts that is not theirs or things like that that we're talking to. So if you signed in with your own Zoom account, your name is already reflecting. But I'm not sure that is true for everyone. That's just that's a concern. But I think right now it's true for everyone. It's sort of true for everyone, but there's someone named Favor who we don't know what their last name is, so we might not be able to. I think that should be Favor. I don't know if it's Favor Benjamin or another Favor. That's part of the reason why you should actually include your last name. Okay, so that's by the way. So I was saying that I could literally name this session purpose, but I chose not to use purpose for a reason. I chose not to use purpose. And just for you to understand the reason, I will ask a question. When you hear the word purpose, when you think about, oh, my life purpose, my purpose, what comes to your mind? How do you think of purpose? That's my question to you. Please use the chat. What's your synonym or your definition of what purpose means? I'm sure you have answers. What's your synonym or your definition for what purpose means? It could be one word answer, it could be a sentence, it could be a sentence and things like that. What's your thought about what purpose means? Please use the chat. I'm looking into the chat. Okay, Ademisola says God's ordained plan. Fumi says the essence of one's lives. Pelumi says synonym that comes to mind is calling. Esther says fulfillment, reason for existence. Olive says what drives you, your goal. Mercy says your reason for existence. Amazing. I'm still looking into the chat. I would love to hear from as many people as possible because I know at least we're about 20 something on this call. Your reason for existence, what drives you, your fulfillment. Omolola says, purpose to me means what you are on heart to do, especially what God has called you for, the reason for your living. So I'm seeing reason, fulfillment, things you are meant to do, what drives you, calling. Olamide says basically why. I love it. I love that she's conceptualizing it in questions. Why am I here? Amazing. So really, the conversation we want to have is a conversation of purpose. But the reason why I personally stopped using that word, should I say stop using it? I still use it, but in this context, I like to use the word meaning instead of purpose. I do that for a reason. And one of my reasons, I have a couple of reasons, but one of it, and probably the most important one, is that the conversation of purpose is a conversation that we've had again and again. And it's a conversation that sort of, because it's a conversation we have again and again, there are very generalized way of seeing it. What I mean by that is, there are certain ways that the conversation of purpose have been had. Conversation of purpose have been had in terms of vocation. You hear things like what you are meant to do. And when people say do, sometimes they mean, the kind of things you're supposed to pursue. Say you're supposed to be a doctor, saving lives. How many of us thought about purpose like that? Like maybe purpose is something around maybe the kind of career you're supposed to choose, like maybe be a doctor, saving lives, be a teacher, impacting lives. Anybody ever thought of purpose that way? You could just tell me I did or something like that in the chat. Anybody at all? I don't mean even if you think about it now, but there was a point in your life where you thought of purpose as this vocation themed thing. Like maybe when you were younger, when you were a child or something like that, you're thinking of purpose in terms of what kind of vocation. And I'm using the word vocation, not career, so that I can encompass every other thing, including business, ministry. In that word, that's why I'm using vocation instead of just say career. Anybody ever thought of purpose from that perspective? Yes, thank you, promise. Olashubumi. Any other person thought about purpose from that vocation themed, where maybe as you were growing up, you're asking yourself, what do I want to do with my life? And a good portion of that question was, what kind of career do I want to pursue, or business, or do I want to go into ministry? Any other person like that? Okay, is that just promise? No other person thought about, ever thought about, okay, thank you, Ayoluwa. Yeah. Some people have that conversation of purpose from a sense of gifting, not necessarily vocation. By gifting, I mean people that feel like I can sing. So part of my purpose is to be lead people in worship towards God, those kind of things. So this conversation of purpose that someone might feel like, oh, there's certain things that they find themselves naturally wired to be able to do in terms of gifting, some kinds of talent that sort of was the backdrop with which they were thinking about purpose. Anyone has ever thought that way, or at least had conversations of purpose in that direction? Anyone? Remember, I said this is going to be interactive, so you have to be very close to your chart. Okay, Ayolo, I see the one answering me. Ololade, thank you. Exactly. So there's the conversation around gifting in terms of, so when you are thinking of purpose, you are thinking of what am I gifted at? So people who feel like, oh, I feel like someone who likes to speak begins to think that their purpose is around the things that will engage speaking. Do you understand? Oh, maybe they are supposed to be a preacher or things like that. People who can sing feels like their purpose is around. People who have certain kind of creative capacities think their purpose is around that, right? Now, one of the interesting things that began to dawn on me as a person was a realization that our purpose was really like okay, let me say it this way. My own journey. Let me tell you a little bit about my journey. And when I say journey, I mean my journey on understanding what purpose means. Yes, my how I move in that journey. I think I started out like a younger, like when I was young, maybe like when I was a child, thinking around. We didn't call it purpose then, Sha. Maybe we call it things like calling or things like that. I think the word purpose is something that became this kind of word that is now a mainstream word, maybe in the last 5 to 10 years. It wasn't the way we are talking about it now. Everybody saying purpose driven, purpose driven. I didn't think it was like that even 10 years ago. But for me as a person, I realized that my understanding of the matter of purpose or calling or whatever I want to use, or let's use meaning, began to shift. As a child, it started from the sense of things around vocation. It started around that vocation themed lens, in the sense that, some people's purpose is to be a pastor, some people's purpose is to be business people, some people's purpose is to be career people. They're supposed to be doctors and saving lives, engineering and building things, business people, and creating business that employ people and things like that, right? And I remember in the last cohort, I was sharing with the people in the last cohort how there was a dream that I had as a child that stressed me out for a long time. It really stressed me out. And it was simple. It was not a kind of dream where you woke up and you already know the meaning. I was still very young, maybe most likely less than 10. Most likely less than 10. And I had this dream, because in those times, part of the things, uncovering these kind of things looked as if they needed all this kind of very they are not things that you can just say, what's your gifts? How are you wired? We don't ask those kind of questions. It's basically, maybe it's if you were born in a conservative Christian circle like me, there's a matter of prayer. What are you supposed to do? And things like that. And I remember having a dream as a young child where we were a lot of children. There was one old man in white, that kind of thing, who was in front of us, the man was giving children things. For like me already remember the dream because she was in the last course. She remember I talked about this dream. I like to talk about that dream when I talk about this matter, because it helped me to explain my journey. So in that dream, a number of children were lined up. The Baba, the old man, was giving them something. And by the time I tell you what he was giving them, you yourself, you say you feel like you can already interpret the dream. So he was giving them things that were like tools of trade. So you see someone, he gave someone stethoscope. He gave someone chalk. Please, let me know if you are following me. Are you understand what I'm trying to say? So he gave someone stethoscope, he gave someone chalk, he gave someone, maybe he gave someone, I don't know, tape rule, that kind of thing. And it got to my turn. And I always like to ask people to guess, what do you think that man gave me? Just guess. Of maybe whatever you know of me now, what do you imagine the person gave me? Anyone wants to guess with me? Just think about it. I didn't get, you know why this is funny? This microphone thing you said is funny. It's because that was one of the first answer people gave me last year too. It's funny. Last cohort, I had this same question. I don't know if anybody last cohort was here. One of Folakemi will be here. Somebody actually said microphone too. Okay. Omolola said book. Book and microphone. Book, right? Book. Okay. And that's because most of you are thinking in the sense of the fact that you see me speaking today, so you think they gave me a microphone, or you see me Don't give us for candy. You see me maybe talking about education, so you thought they gave me a book, but they didn't give me any of that. They actually gave me a Bible. And I remember waking up and I cried bad. Like I cried really badly. Like, oh my God, it stressed my spirit out, like my old soul as a child. Like it was not even funny. The man gave me a Bible and I went to my mom. I told my mom, I don't want to be a pastor. I don't want to be a pastor. And you won't blame me because I grew up in a family of pastors. Like my mom is a pastor. My dad is late now, was a pastor. Everyone in my mom's family has been a pastor. Like everyone in my mom's family, every single one of them is either an evangelist, a deaconess, all those kind of things. And so I was close enough to know that still people's pastoring is equal suffering. People are pastors that suffer because people are not, you don't like to do bad things, so you will suffer. So in my head, pastor meant suffering, and I was like, no. And I cried so much. I still remember I was less than 10. And my mom, this story is funny to say out loud, right? And my mom, just so that my mom could encourage, my mom was encouraging me then because I was in choir. My mom was encouraging me and saying, oh, maybe, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be pastor. It might be that you'll be singing for the glory of God, but you'll be singing from the Bible. That kind of thing. She just tried to encourage me. But it was a big difference because in my mind, I felt that my purpose was set. They have given me Bible. I'm supposed to be a pastor. That's it. So it gives you a sense of where my thinking of purpose started from, right? Is initially vocation thing. After a while, it began to become a little bit gifting thing. Like, what are the things I can do? So there was a time people will be surprised to hear that there was a time, because I grew up, if you're a PK, any PK here, you know what PK means? Pastor's kid. There's pastor's kid. There's now founder kid. That one is another level. Like your parents founded a church. So you are the pastor of, and it's not pastor, branch pastor. It's like pastor, the owner of the church in that case. You understand that especially I grew up when my mother started the church. So I grew up with the church. So I was all in all in the church because we were few growing up. Do you understand? We were few in the church. So I had to learn how to sing. I was all shy and all of that. And there was a time I started feeling like, oh, I can sing, go. And I started thinking, oh, maybe part of my purpose is to be singing to the glory of God. So the idea is that after a while, I started realizing that, oh, I can write to, maybe, I'll be writing for God's glory, write that. Maybe people like, what's his name? Her name, Francis River, that kind of thing. Because I was looking at my giftings. But with time, even that, and the funny thing is that why that began to, a number of these journeys I'm talking about and the evolution of them was because I kept entering into situations where my former definition of purpose no longer fits. Are there people who are in that kind of place where the way they used to think, maybe it has happened to you before, or you probably are even there now, where the way you used to understand purpose there are questions that understanding can no longer answer. Because when I was thinking vocation-wise, I was thinking gifting-wise. And that was why when I got to a time in my life, so I went to school, then I had to go and do geology. How does geology and pastor relate? And then by the time I went back, finished in undergrad, went back for masters, funded masters and all of that. I was a scholar in UI and all of that. And I remember I'd done BSc, made the first class, doing masters, and I was thinking, oh, I was going to go into the academia. And that's why I started feeling that, okay, maybe teaching now is my calling, that kind of thing. And I got to a point during my masters, and even before my masters, when I was living in NYC, I started having a strong sense in my heart to start a business. And I struggled bad because that business did not, like, to go and be making cake. It didn't fit into the context that I was working with in terms of purpose and what I was supposed to do with my life, right? And I struggled. It took a long time for me to break out of it, to eventually start the business. I don't know, maybe not many people know that I actually did a cake business at a time in my life. And while I was doing the cake business, there came a time where I started sensing in my spirit that God was telling me to, and I would say God because I really believe it was God, to start a non-profit to help business owners like myself, because I began to realize that doing solo business was difficult. It was more difficult than people make it look like. Like, those I am a CEO was not as fancy as that. And that was what led me to one foundation. And even that one foundation, too, I struggled a lot. I struggled. Like, which one is comic or non-profit? Which one is entrepreneurial development? I don't even know anything about that. So the point is that the more my life began to grow, the more I started finding interest and even a pull towards areas that were not in my context of vocation, and even areas that I didn't necessarily feel a gifting for. Like, what do you mean gifting? I was not, do I have gifting for business? No. Did I have gifting for cake? I hated cakes when I was growing up. My sister used to make cakes. I was not the first baker in my house. So it's as if things started to happen that were pulling at my understanding of purpose in terms of what I was supposed to do. Because it's as if new things kept coming to our hearts. New things at different times. When I started my, around the time I was starting my PhD, I started having a strong sense of, understanding education policy, government, questions of government and all of that, being a public scholar. All of these things were not things that I was thinking about 10 years ago. Why am I saying this? Is that one of the things that, so I have about 3 to 4 arguments about, it's not even, I'm not trying to define purpose for you. What I'm really trying to do is to make you ask questions so that you can allow yourself to be in a context that allows you to understand purpose and meaning from a place that empowers you, not limits you. One of the things that has happened, there are like 2-3 things that have happened that I've noticed over our years of conversation of purpose. One of it is, first of all, the fact that purpose, the conversation of purpose has been, and I'm going to use, I keep using that word reduced only to our sense of what we do in terms of things that almost feels like professional things. So when you hear people talking about, like I was saying in the onboarding conversation, when we get people to talk about themselves, most of the time, I hear people almost encapsulating their sense of who they are around the things that they accomplish. And don't get me wrong, it's an amazing thing that you're a doctor. It's an amazing thing that you run a non-profit. It's an amazing thing that you have a ministry to young women, whatever you do. But one of my arguments to how we have defined purpose and how I feel that most of the conversation that we have about purpose nowadays is not enough. One of it is the fact that our lives have to be bigger than the things we do. And you know why I argue for that? One of the reasons why I argue for that is this. So let me ask you a question. How many percentage of your daily hours do you spend on your work? Can somebody give me a sense? I hope that question makes sense. Or don't let me ask it this way. Let me say it this way. Imagine that you think part of my at least you think my purpose is that I'm supposed to reach out to young girls. There's a way we talk about this, teenage girls, to help them find direction. Amazing. But the question I'm going to ask you is, of your everyday, how many hours of your everyday do you really spend on that? Let's even say you talk to the young girls every day. You don't talk to them for 24 hours. It's not even realistic. You can't. Your business, your career, you don't spend 24 hours on it. Of 24 hours every day on it. The point is, there are other aspects of your life that looks like the ordinary everyday. There are the aspect of your life that is you're waking and you're sleeping and you're eating and you're gisting with friends and communicating with your family, cooking, domestic things that you do, that if we are not careful, we begin to think of them out of the confines of purpose. How many persons cooked this week? Maybe you cooked for your family. Anybody cooked this week? Anything at all? Anybody? Just, you can use raise hand button. Yes. How many people cook this way? While you were cooking, did you think in that instance that you were fulfilling purpose? As you were cooking for yourself, for your family, I know there are different range of people here, including people who are mothers. As you were cleaning the house, did you think that you were fulfilling purpose? Olive says no. The truth is that that's the truth. Many of us don't. And that, first of all, shows you part of the concerns that we have about purpose. Because if you know God, you will know that he's not a waster. So it's not possible that he's thinking of his reason for sending you on earth. It's just the things that you do, the program you organized that you did for 4 hours in one day. And his sense of your reason in life has nothing to do with the remaining 20 hours that you used to just do what we call ordinary things. Yeah. Part of my argument is that our definition of purpose has to have a place for everyday life. I've been making this argument again and again. And I feel even more pressed to make this argument to our own generation that has been taught to think of their sense of greatness only from the things that are spotlighted. I feel even a greater sense of urgency towards our own generation, where our sense of what it means to be great, our sense of purpose and meaning, most of the time is confined to the things that puts us in a distinguished place. Where you are on the poster, you're speaking at the United Nations. I like to use some of the examples because these are the things that we dream about. I don't have a problem with them. Don't get me wrong. Of course, I dreamed those. I'm not even sure I dream about those things anymore, to be honest. Maybe before. God knows, if I'm being honest. Like, yes, I want to do amazing things. I want to, do amazing things with my career and all of that. But I'm coming to terms with the fact that cannot be the entirety of your life. It can't be. It's not even true. I was saying Adeleke say it reminds out of Romans 12:2 in Message Bible. Exactly. That scripture is a very, very important scripture to this conversation. Because it was saying that you take your everyday life, your eating, your drinking, your sleeping, and lay them before God as a living sacrifice. Imagine that. Does it not amaze you that God thinks of even your sleeping as part of your purpose? And what I'm calling purpose is the fact that anything that can be laid before him as sacrifice of worship is part of the reason why, because the entire reason of existence is that you were made to worship, right? If we're coming from the scriptural perspective now, you were made for his worship, for his pleasure. And he's saying it is possible for you to lay down even your eating and your drinking and your sleeping and your mundane everyday as a sacrifice of worship. So if our conversation of purpose does not begin to also ask ourselves, like, what is it about our everyday that makes it purposeful? I want to saying it that way risk that people can think that, oh, as I'm eating like this, I need to be thinking that how purposeful is my eating. That's not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm saying. Thank you for me. I feel like what I'm saying is better captured the way for me said it. The fact that every part of our life communicates its purpose, like it is part of it. And you know why? You know the problem, if we don't think like this, is that depending on the seasons of our lives, when God begins to put you in, if you are going through a season where God is not interested in putting you in anything that feels spotlight, you might feel as if your life is not being meaningful. So the one who created you, you are doing exactly what he wants you to be doing. Is the reason why many people think that it's a more purposeful thing to organize an event than to cook for their family. Is the reason why people think it's a more purposeful thing to get an award at the United Nations than to have hangouts with their friends. But it's not true. That's my first argument, that our understanding of purpose must push beyond, it must push beyond a sense of just a sense of accomplishment and spotlight and things like that. As much as possible, do the best you can with your work, with your, get the awards, do the amazing thing, make the applications, get the opportunity. But you need to know that the God who made you, think of your life bigger than that. And so your everyday, you're living, you're eating, you're sleeping, you're walking. Do you understand? Your eating, your sleeping must be taught also from the perspective of purpose. And now, I remember that I was going to tell you why I used the word meaning instead of purpose, and I've not said it. The reason why I use the word meaning is actually connected to the second argument that I'm going to have about how we need to push our definition of purpose. Usually, I've noticed that when you just say purpose, people start thinking about what they do, right? Like if I say, what's your purpose? The chances of that people will start telling me, oh, my purpose is to support young girls. My purpose is to help people. My purpose is to serve people. And it's nice. It's all good. My purpose is to, use my something to do something. But most of the time, the conversation we don't deliberately do it, but a good number of them, the conversation can quickly be reduced to the things that we do in terms of activities. And that's why I like to use the word meaning. Because when I ask you what's your meaning, the chances that you will sit down and think about it a little bit more is higher. Because meaning it just conveys something deeper, like we do. Or will you say, is there anybody that will say my meaning is to support young girls? By the time you say it that way, you can quickly see how, that can't just be it. And that's why I like to use the word meaning instead of purpose, because I feel like it pushes us to think a little bit. So the second thing that is my argument about how we need to think about purpose. You'll see what I'm doing. I'm not defining it for you. I'm just helping you, pushing you a little bit to think about it from a little bit more deeper, comprehensive perspective. I'm not trying to define purpose for you or define your purpose for you. What I'm trying to do is just to give you tools of thinking about it that does not cage any part of your being, or render meaningless, or render unimportant any part of your life. My second argument is the idea that I already started saying, that our purpose cannot just be about the things that we do, because we are not human doings, we are human beings. I think I think it's a very concerning thing. And when I say concerning, this is personal, is concerning to me personally, that we have raised a generation that does not know how to just be. A generation that is almost always thinking of the next thing to do. Because we think that we need to derive a sense of purpose from our constant moving. If you're understanding what I'm saying, please let me know in the chat. What are you, up until this point, what are you understanding? I want to ensure that we're on the same page and I'm not talking over you. Up until this point, what is standing out for you and what are you understanding? What's standing out for you in the conversation that I'm having? I'm looking into the chat. People Benjamin says very clear. Okay. Emitokwe says purpose isn't just tied to activities. I didn't say, to be honest, my goal was not about shattering tables. It was just about, it's not about speaking truth. Olashu Bomi promises, my sense of purpose isn't tied to achievement or success. What I'm even trying to tell you is the fact that it's not just that your sense of purpose is not tied to success. It's that success is not just about professional accomplishment. That we can think of success in ways that are bigger than just the things that are glamorous. That's my point. So I'm not saying your purpose is like, yes, your purpose is tied to success, but success is not just about the things that we have defined as success. That's my point. Sarah says purpose is not just what we do. Adeke says, what I understand is that my meaning does not just come from doing things. I should learn to be comfortable with being still. Okay. Thank you for saying that, Adeke, because you just reminded me of something I need to talk about. Olive says, I always seek the next thing to do, looking to understand more. We'll talk about that. Pelumi says, I understand that the accomplishment are not the old definition of our purpose. All right. Now, when I'm saying being, what exactly do I mean? Because I realize that there's a possibility to understand even that idea of being only from one perspective. For now, because these are things I'm also thinking about, and part of my goal is not, part of my goal for some of this conversation, and you see the way we keep having it, is actually to say things that causes you to think. My goal is not for you to just hear me and take what I'm saying. My goal is actually to say things that causes you to ask questions, go back to meditate, ask yourself, what do you know? Why do you know it? Why do you believe what you believe? That's my goal is actually to put you in a place of questioning and meditation. So I'm not even asking you to take it, because those are the things I'm doing too. So when I'm talking about being, up until this point in my life, and I'm going to talk about it because I know that, of course, even as I grow and grow in understanding, these things will also keep expanding. But up until now, there are about 2-3 ways that I think about the matter of being. There's the one that I see in what Adeke already said, the matter of being still. And by that, I'm thinking of the idea that this idea of being in a place, season, time, do you understand? Season of your life that that lacks the kind of usual activities that maybe other season of your life has included, but still being able to be in that state of satisfaction and contentment and being able to think of your life as great. That's the first side, the side of being still. The idea that what makes you think you are great is not just about the seasons where, because we have seasons where things are happening, pam, 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 business is running, everything is wow, wow, wow. And we have seasons where, for whatever reason, we have to pull out of them. You had a baby, of course, you have to pull out from certain things for some time. God forbid, something that makes something difficult happen. If people relocated and they have to, calm down, that's the word. There's a conversation of being that is about being in a lot less activity filled season and still being able to be fine, not thinking as if your life is crashing or people are going ahead, you are just there. Do you understand? But there's also the other dimension of being for me, which is not even seasonal. It's not seasonal in terms of, it's not about either there's a lot more activities in your life or a lot less. It is that being that is about understanding that you are, how do I say this? Holy Spirit, give me language. Understanding that at the end of the day, even in the midst of all of the activities, what matters the most is to be in a kind of state of heart, a state of heart of peace, a state of heart that is filled with love, not madness, not stress, not, do you understand? Yes, thank you, Sabat. Thank you, Adeke. You have really helped me today. Yeah. Where even in the midst of, you are in a high demanding season or a high, a glamorous season where for whatever your face is everywhere, you are doing great things, everybody is telling you congratulations, but you are still able to understand that thing that Jesus was saying when he said that a person's life is not consist in the abundance of things they have. where you are able to differentiate your life from the things you possess, such that at the end of the day, when you are sleeping back in your house, you have just gotten an award. Let me use some of these very glamorous things. You've just done something great. Everybody is happy. Everybody is hailing you. And by the time, but in the corner of your own heart, when you are ready to sleep at night, you can be like what Jesus was saying to the disciples. He said something to them. Remember the time when he sent them to go and preach. And then they came back and they were saying things like, they were saying, oh, it was amazing. Demons flee. I mean, if you know the scripture, let me know if you know it. Demons flee. They were talking about the great things they did. And Jesus was, talking to them, and he was saying that, it's amazing that all of this thing happened, but he was saying that you should even be more happy that your name is written in the book of life. The idea that it's amazing that you did all of these things, but part of the things that should give you the most contentment is that you are my own. If you understand what I'm saying, please let me know. That thing where we are able to build a life whose foundation is not seated and grounded just in the things that we do, even when those things are done, even when those things are the things that you were sent to do. Do you understand? Where your identity is not just in the assignment, even when they are God-given assignments. That's what I'm talking about. So our understanding of purpose must also, it must in fact be grounded in that one. Because a person who is settled in their being, we actually do better. And when I say do better, I don't even mean do better in terms of, they will do bigger things. No. Is that even the things that the event, because in doing, you are actually exchanging life. The kind of life they will exchange will be a more correct version of life than a person who is just running a task getter. That's what I'm saying. So first is the idea that purpose must have a place for the everyday. Second is the fact that purpose cannot just be seated on doing. In fact, it should be foundational on your being. And when we're talking about being, I've talked about the issue of, being able to be calm, be rested in seasons, even in seasons that seem as if it's not calling you to too many activities. And the dimension of understand that even the things that are calling you to a lot of activity, regardless of what the season is, you are more, your contentment, your sense of fulfillment, your sense of joy is more seated in rooted in things that cannot be shaken, like the result of your activities. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you for sharing that scripture with you. Right? The third thing that I argue for when it comes to how we think about purpose and meaning, the third thing is the need for humility. And I feel that this was not supposed to be, in my head, it should not supposed to be necessary before, but it has become necessary because of our human pride. One of the things I argue for is the need to think of, the third thing is what I'm just saying right now. So the first is about understanding that your purpose has to have a place for your everyday, what we call the ordinary everyday, the all-encompassment of your life. The second one is the understanding that your purpose should be seated upon a being, not just an activity. Yes, you will do things, but it's not supposed to be seated upon that. The third thing is what I'm calling the need for humility in purpose, in terms of expanding our thought about purpose, is a realization that at every point in time, you don't know all that there is to know about your life and your purpose. It amazes me. I'm sorry for what I'm about to say. I remember I was in a meeting and I was hearing people talking, and people were saying, I already know my purpose. And time I hear people talk like that, the thing always, I don't know, Sha. It always, it talks to me somehow, like, and it's not because this hear my heart. Because in my head, I'm like, sure that you can just say it like that and say, oh, I'm not my possible, as if you are not on a journey. Let me ask you a question. Are there people here who there are things that you're doing today, ways that you're being, and all of that, that were not in the radar of your thinking 7 years ago? Are there people like that? That maybe there are things that you do today that 5 years ago you didn't even imagine yourself in that kind of space. Anybody like that? Thank you, Pelumi. Because our life is on a journey, and we need to embrace the humility that the concept of journey puts upon us. The idea is, yes, you know something part time, but you are humble enough to know that you don't know that there is to know. So as you continue to move in your life, you are open to knowing more. Do you understand? You are open and you are flexible under the hand of God for him to show you more about yourself, things about yourself that you don't know before. There's no need to feel like, oh, me, I already know there's no need. You know what you need to know now. That's fine. I'm not saying don't know anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying even what you know, be like Paul that says, he said we know in part and we understand in part. In fact, if you want to use Paul's word, it takes it further, because he's even saying the fact that the knowledge of the full knowledge cannot even come on this side of eternity. That's the point of what he was saying when he was saying we know in part. You don't have to know it though. You just need to know what you need to know right now to make the movement. And the funny thing is that is as you go, that more knowledge dawns. Is as you go. It's as you go that more knowledge dawns. And the truth is that there are certain things about your life that knowing them right now will even stress you. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Because you are not yet in the framework of your life cannot be it yet. And that does not mean that maybe God think of you in the way that, there's a way that I feel like, we like to feel like, oh God, I'm in a place where anything you can do, I can do it now. No, it's not a bad thing to be in a place where you know there are certain things you can't do it yet. It's not an indictment on anything about you. It's just pride that makes us feel that way. It's like someone saying, I have a son who is just a couple months old. It's like me telling him that he can't carry a cake, and he thinks that me saying that means that I don't think of him highly. No, it's just the truth. And there's nothing bad to know that, oh, because you are this couple months old, you can't carry a cake. It's just as simple. That does not mean that the capacity to carry a cake is not inside you. It means that there's a growth that needs to happen to match that capacity so that the capacity can then be expressed. And I don't know why I'm even saying this. And I feel I should say it because I know that many of us, we stress when we hear things like, oh, you can't do certain things now. It's not an indictment. It's pride that makes us feel as if if God says that kind of thing to you, it's because it thinks that maybe you are doing poorly or anything. No, it doesn't even mean that you are doing poorly. Do you understand? Just let me know if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. Up until this point, what are you understanding? Let me ask that question again. Because I need to be sure that we are moving at the same phase. Up until this point, what are you understanding? What is standing out for you? I'm looking into the chart. Okay, Folakemi says, no, I'm saying that you people's the things you are telling the chat now are now they are getting longer and deeper. That's nice. Folakemi says purpose reflects in your everyday life. Purpose is beyond you. You must be at home. It's beyond you. You must be at home with your being. Yes, I love that. I love the way you said this. Like, I mean, it's just being at home with yourself. Like, not. And I know, Holy Spirit, help me to say these things well, so you don't misunderstand. I know many of us like the idea, oh, I'm an apostle to the nations, financial apostle. But the thing is that, are you comfortable with I am doing? Like, I'm a daycare. Is that something that just knowing that, is this something that you are okay with? That's part of the question. I love the way you said it, for like, I mean, being at home. You said the need for humility and purpose. Promises. I mean, looking forward to hear from other people. What are you understanding up onto this point is my question. Promises, we do not need to know the full scope of our purpose at once. What we should have at heart is knowing it at a particular point in time, what we are to do, its price that makes us feel. We have to be able to grasp the full scope of our purpose. Yes. Because God is not afraid to take us. He's not afraid to go on a journey with us. Do you know that Jesus said directly to the disciples one time? He told them, he said, there are many things I want to tell you, but you cannot bear it now. And he wasn't abusing them. In fact, part of what he was saying it in love. I'm looking forward to more. That's what I'm waiting for. Up until this point, what are you understanding? Up until this point, what are you understanding? Purpose is a journey of trust. Thank you, Adeike. Thank you. Thank you. Looking out for more. While I'm waiting, because I imagine that people are typing, I'm also going to the content because I'm also conscious of time. So I've made 3 arguments, right? The first is the argument that our purpose must have a space for our everyday. Second is the fact that our purpose should be seen not just from a doing perspective, but the fact that there's a person doing the doings. So the purpose also is about the person, is the kind of person you're becoming, you know, being at home with your person and all of that. There's a third part of understanding that purpose is a journey. And I like the way Adeike says this is a journey of trust. But the goal I'm really trying to show you there is the matter of the fact that it's even a journey at all. It's okay for you to know what you need to know at the time you need to know it. All you just have to do is to continue to ensure that you are going on the journey. I think there might be one last argument I'm trying to make, but I'm not even sure if it's an argument that is detached from what I just said the third time, or more like an implication of it. The implication of the journey is the idea that you'll be open to twists and turns, open to flexibilities, open to understanding that if you know that you don't know what there is to know at time, but you have a God who will continue to show you what you need to know as your time goes on, you will be open to the fact that if you used to think about maybe, for example, you had been given assignments in a particular area, you were passionate about young girls and all of that, ensuring that, they think properly, they live properly and all of that. But as you continue to go, 5 years later, you began to have a sense where you were actually drawn to boys. You will not be feeling as if maybe, oh, am I abandoning my purpose? No, you won't feel that way, because you know that at the heart of it, most of the things that we actually do, the things we do in itself, I prefer to think of them as assignment than purpose. I think of purpose as an all-encompassing thing that includes you and who you are becoming. And when I say who you are becoming, I don't mean, are you becoming an apostle? That's not what I mean. Or you are becoming a business person. No, I mean the kind of human being that you are becoming. The kind of things that's happening at the core of your heart. And so we can think of the things that we do more of assignment. And when we think of them as assignment, we understand that they can change. They can change. You can start one way, and in the next 5 years, you see yourself going in ways you never imagined, but you don't have a problem with that. I started talking about how, and using myself as an example, how there are things I've done in my life that if they told me 10 years ago I was going to do them, I would have laughed, because what's my own with why am I concerned about government? Waiting concerned concerned what I don't need to see myself in things like that. But the more I went, the more I had, even seasons pulled me in certain directions. There are things that your season open you up onto. You know, you just enter a season where, well, for whatever reason, you have to be home with kids. And all of a sudden, you became passionate about children. Those things are okay when you begin to, you'll be okay with them. They're okay, but the problem is not if they're okay, it's if you are okay with them. But you'll be okay with them when you are in a place where your sense of purpose has that humility of journey, of knowing that it's a journey, so there can be twists and turns, things are flexible, but you can have the trust. Let me use that TEC's word, knowing that the most important thing is who you are journeying with. I can see more. Omolola says, my life is a journey. I can't live all my life once in a time. Once. I'm not sure I understand that. I should just be open and humble enough to trust and follow God per time. Yes. Honestly, if you ask me, my understanding of purpose has become a lot more simpler than it used to be. It was in time past that my understanding of purpose was about, what do I want to do in my generation? I've honestly, God knows that all of those complications, I've left them behind. My understanding of purpose is more of, Lord, today, what will you have me do? And that what you have me do can include sitting down in my house. It can include talking to one person. It can include having a session like this. Like my understanding of purpose has become a lot more about being obedient and flexible in God's hand than it is about achieving something. Because at the heart, I realized that even the things that I achieve, when I go back, and when I say go back, like go back in my own life to think about them, I found out that what I'm more concerned about is that, Lord, was this what you really wanted me to do? And if this is what you wanted me to do, did I do it the way you wanted me to do it? In the doing of it, was I being the person you wanted me to be? Because some of us are pursuing God-given assignments using how do I say this? So this is help me. We're pursuing God-given assignments from a state of heart and state of being that is not God's design for us. Let me say that again. Some of us are pursuing God-given assignments from a state of heart and state of being that is not God's desire for us. So yes, there's a part of whatever you want to find to do, you do with all your mind. So you are a business owner. But because because for whatever reason, the idea of the business being successful has put you under enough pressure in your mind to make you into a person who try to get a result at whatever cost, including cost to yourself and cost to other people around you. So you can argue that, yes, the business I'm doing, I had a sense of, it was what I was supposed to do and all of that. But it's not just what you're doing, it's how you are doing it. And the how is tied to the person, which is why it brings up the whole idea again of the idea that purpose cannot just be about the activities, cannot just be about the assignment. There's a whole person involved. Because remember, the heaven that you are going, you are not going to carry your NGO there. What you are taking there is who you have become in your heart. So the question is, all the things you are doing, what are you becoming in the process? I don't know why I keep talking about this, because I didn't even plan to spend so much time on this. Or maybe this is really what I really needed to emphasize today. That even in the things that you're doing, when you understand that who you are, and when I say who you are, because we have said this who you are a lot, and sometimes we think of it in terms of this sense of classism, this sense of hierarchy, like, what stature do you have in the spirit? I'm sorry I'm using this word, but these are things that have happened, even in the church, where our sense of being is not simple anymore. People is laughing at me because this thing is our sense of being and pop is not simple anymore. There's just a complexity, which is really around our pride and around our need, our our deep-seated need to feel distinct from other people. So we want to be when you are saying who you are becoming, you are thinking about who you are becoming that is higher than other people in a way that makes you the person that everybody looks up to, or the envy of others in a certain way. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about what kind of person are you being in your person? As you are pursuing the assignment, whatever assignment you are pursuing, who are you becoming? Are you becoming more short-tempered? Are you becoming patient? Because eventually, remember, even as believers, the fruit of the Spirit is the fruit. That's the, you say fruit is the product, the result, the intention that God is trying to make out of you. But when we think purpose, we don't even think of those things again. Many of us are not thinking about how God is trying to make a patient person out of us. We think about how God is trying to make an apostle out of us. Do you understand? We're not thinking how God is trying to make a more gentle, more someone who is milk, someone who approaches life from a childlike trust person out of us. We are thinking of how he's trying to make a person who can take plenty territory out of us. I'm not saying you won't take territories. I'm saying that honestly, in the scale of things, those ones are supposed to be products, not they are supposed to be byproduct. That's what I'm supposed to use. They are not the focus. Okay, I feel like now I'm beginning to feel like I'm actually now doing what I don't know what's saying it. I think it was Adair is why I was saying that I was shaking tables. I apologize. Let me pull myself back. I feel like I said some of those things because I didn't actually plan to say them in this way. But it's I want to believe it's because someone needed to hear it that way. Anyway. So you see that I've been speaking all along because I feel like my PowerPoint actually lives in my heart. So I don't even need to go about it. I've talked a lot about the issue of meaning. Many of the things I've talked about has been here. I don't have a lot of PowerPoint actually. I think I have just 3 slides because my goal is not even the slides. My goal is to have this more like an heart-to-heart conversation. So when we're talking about meaning, you already hear me talking about God a lot in this conversation because I really don't think that nothing gives itself meaning. If I ask you for the meaning of the word did not give itself meaning. Nothing gives itself meaning. So there's no, when we're talking about the idea of having a meaning, it means there's one who gives the meaning. But that's where God comes into this. And then maybe the part that I need to start talking about now, that will begin to pull me towards my wrapping up of this conversation is we're talking about, coming to know your purpose, or however we want to say it, coming to think a little bit more about your purpose and in all of the light of the things I've spoken about in terms of understanding it beyond just the things that you do, understanding that even in the things that you do, there's flexibility because you're on a journey, understanding it from the perspective that there is a place for the everyday, that you're eating, you're drinking, you're going to bed. Every part of it is a worthy sacrifice. God thinks of it as a worthy sacrifice of worship. Then the question is, he also demands that we live a certain way. For example, how will you do your everyday life? How will you think of your everyday living if you truly realize that that your everyday living is actually a crucial part of the meaning and purpose of your life? That's a question. So the idea is, when we talk about knowing purpose, it's not just about knowing in our head. It's not a philosophical thing. It's about it influencing the way we live it out. How will you think about the domestic work you do in your home as a wife and a mother if you realize that God thinks of it as a worthy sacrifice, and that it is not just the program you did for teenage girls that he thought of as purpose, but he also thought about the breastfeeding you did for your baby as part of it? Do you understand? He thought of it as a worthy sacrifice. How differently would we engage our everyday life if we think of them as a crucial part of our purpose? And I mean, that's the question here. Not, I don't even, when I'm saying question, I don't mean I necessarily want you to answer me. I want you to think about it. Because all of this conversation will end up just being a nice thing that we have spoken about. If it doesn't influence the way you see your life right now, if it does not begin to then influence, how then do you see where you are right now and the things that you have the opportunities to do? You are a young lady, you are in a season where maybe you are staying with an elder statesman, your uncle, to help them with taking care of your children. And you might think that what you are doing doesn't make as much, is not as important as you see some of your friends who are going for opportunities and you know they are traveling abroad. And you might feel as if you are behind. But if you understand that the idea of purpose and meaning actually has space for all of these things, so how differently will you think of your life? Will it lead you to stop stressing over the things that God is not stressing about you? Will it put you in a place of contentment, for example? And, let's talk a little bit about the matter of contentment, because I feel like I didn't plan to say this, but it just dawned upon my heart, because I feel like the matter of contentment is one that everybody's we're always, I don't even know if it's tricky to us, because we're asking ourselves, where is the line between contentment and complacency? Has anybody asked that question before? Let me see if this is even a conversation worth branching into. The way Pelumi quickly said yes. Okay. Oh, the answers are coming fast. So maybe I really went into something that probably is in your heart. I know that, yes, our contentment is not settling for less. Omolola said it was already on our mind to ask. And for some reason, Favor Okoli, can you hear me? Please, can you confirm if you can hear me, Favor Okoli? Are you here?
Yes, I can hear you.
Are you in a place where you can speak?
Yes, I think I can, depending on what.
On what? Don't worry. I know that we didn't plan this. But for some reason, as I was talking about contentment, I was seeing your name. I felt that I wanted you to share what you have come to learn about contentment, because you are my very close inner circle person, and I know some of your experiences, and I know that the matter of contentment is one that I feel like God has specifically been teaching you in the last 1 to 2 years. What would you say you have learned about contentment, and especially how it differentiates from complacency? Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would be happy to share, but I'd like a few seconds to gather my thought, because this exact question was something that I also wanted to throw at you, because I've been thinking about it all week, just trying to put my thoughts together as to how it's exactly different. So I think that to be content, I think is coming from a place where your see, there's a way that we can seductively connect our being to our doing, such that you get the definition of who you are from just the kind of things that you do. One scripture that comes to mind whenever this topic comes up is when Jesus said, "The life of a man does not consist of the things he has, even when he has a lot." I think that's the caveat that makes it very clear, right? So a content person, C.S. Lewis will say, it's not just about if you have a lot, if you're aspiring for something. I think it's a state of the soul. You can already tell that I'm trying to put my words together. I think contentment is a state of the soul. It's not necessarily, I don't know, it's a state of the soul that has learned not to get its definition from externalities. Do you understand what I mean? Such that for example, sometimes when we say I don't want to be complacent, and all those kind of thing. It's because sometimes God is putting visions in your heart that are big things that you should go for, and if you think contentment is saying, God, I want to remain small, that's a problem too. Because that's also like a kind of pride, if you understand what I mean. I think what I know about contentment now is a state of the soul that has refused to get its definition, its definition from externalities. It's very tough because the way we have been socialized is that when we see people, we look at them, we say based on how you look, you are you are rich, you are wealthy. We define people by what we can see, and we are human beings that we need external impulses. But I feel like a content person is a person that can abase and can abound, but has learned that even if you're in a season where you are abounding, you are not the abounding. I don't know how to separate it. It's a disconnect between. It's a tricky place where you have chosen not to let things that are outside define you. You have chosen for your soul to be at peace and satisfied with who God has called you to be. It's a tough battle, to be honest. I think it's something that is easier said than done, because there's also another tricky part where people say they are content, but what they actually are is being complacent, or they are being lazy, or they are actually scared. I told you about this thing one time. They are scared of, when God is calling them to places of influence. They're actually scared, and they say they are content. They don't like crowd. They don't like people, calling them. I think it's just the state of the soul where you have disconnected your sense of who you are from externalities. And I think it's an ongoing thing. It's not a destination. It's a journey that gets clearer and clearer. For example, there was a season in my life where I had a lot of, I went for Yali. I was doing a lot of things, and I noticed that in that season, when people ask me, oh, Favor, what's up? Introduce yourself. Just be like, I'm this, I went to yes, business school, I'm da 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 da. And those were the front lines of the things. Those were the things that I would say to myself. And I remember the first Imagine Women, and you ask, okay, who are you without all those things? Then you now meet who you truly are that can stay through every season. Do you understand what I mean? So yeah, I don't know if if I confused
That was
anybody, but I'm
very
sorry.
that
What?
was very useful. That was very useful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll start with the last place you said. And I love the way you said it. In terms of when I'm saying who are you, it is who are you that can stay through any season. That part of you that remain when things change is really who you are. Do you understand? The part of you that remains when everything is going well, and that still remain when everything seems not to be going well, that's really who you are. And that's the person, when I'm talking about being since, that's the person I'm talking about. How you think, the way you see yourself, the self-dialogue you have, the way your actions, your disposition towards life, towards others, that remains when they move you from abasing season to abounding season. It's who you are. And that's the person I'm after. And that's the person that I think that's the place you're supposed to sit our understanding of purpose. That's my thank you, because you have actually even helped me beyond the question I was asking you. You had that
Yes, thank you, ma. I just wondered, the person that asked about the complacency and
yeah.
contentment. I'm not sure I did you so much good, but
Fine.
yeah.
I think you actually use words. Funny enough, if anything, your word reminded me of a scripture, and I'm going to read it. The conversation about complacency and complacency versus contentment. What does contentment looks like? When does it? What? How do you ensure it doesn't become complacent and all of that? It's a question that I feel that we will keep asking, and we need to be content with the idea that our understanding of it will keep growing. Remember the journey thing again. This is how part of the way we enact this thing we are learning. Though, in the way that we're even in things about life that you are learning, you are okay to know that you don't know that there is to know right now. The question is, what do you know? And are you putting yourself in spaces where you can continue to learn better? So I'm not under pressure to feel as if I can, like anyone or anyone is able to completely tell you these are the differences and this is it and that's all that we know and that's all that there is to know. No. But up until now, in addition to the things that Favor have said, because I think she has said a lot of things and I could see some of the charts and some of the words that she was using and also resonating with people. Let me, sometimes the way to help you clarify what something is to start from what it is not. So sometimes when I try to define something and it's confusing me, one of the ways, it's one of the tricks I've learned, even as a researcher, is to start from what it is not. First of all, contentment is not complacency. So let's talk about what complacency is, right? Complacency, there are many ways to think about complacency, but at least for the context of what I'm talking about, one of the ways I want us to think about it is the idea of digging your, let me define it this way, digging your foot into the place that you're supposed to be coming out of trying to remain in a place you're supposed to be moving out of. So let me say it this way. When I think about the conversation, you guys should give me a minute, please. All right. Yeah, coming back. I needed to quickly say something to someone here. Anyway, there's a way that was in my heart that I wanted to explain, and I hope that God gives me the language. So, at the heart of complacency is refusing to move in the direction that God wants you to move. That's the simplest way to think about it. So maybe you were supposed to start your master's now, but for some reason you're telling yourself, oh no, maybe I'm not ready, maybe things are too difficult. And maybe this thing I'm saying, like, this is somebody's word. Let me use it that way, the way we use it in church. If there's somebody that's supposed to start their master, but they are giving plenty excuses. Their life is too busy. Right now, there are too many things going on. They can't do it yet, and all of that. Basically, complacency is that thing where you begin to, you continue to stay where God has left. In that sense, is that thing that makes you not move in continuity and not stay in step with where God is putting you. That's the simplest way I can think about it. And I'm not trying to be religious, to be honest. And I need to start that way. Holy Spirit, thank you. Why I am having, could you guys give me 1 minute, please? I need to quickly do something. 1 to 2 minutes. I just saw an alarm that reminds me of something that I need to quickly do. Thank you. Okay, I'm back. Please, can you confirm you can hear me? Before I continue talking, can you confirm you can hear me, please? Okay. I was talking about complacency being kind of being out of step with God. Okay. I think of complacency from the perspective of being out of step with God. And it's important to state it that way because there are many ways you can think of complacency. Many ways. There's a backdrop that everybody think of both complacency and contentment from. And that backdrop makes a difference in the way you define it. Let me give you an example. I just told you how I think about it because my life is built around, you know, my desire for God, my desire to be in God's will, and all of that. Someone else can define complacency from a backdrop of a sense of their life is around trying to be on top, try to, always be in the, do you understand? Always be the one on the top, always being ahead, of other people and all of that. And it will shape the way they think of complacency. It will. So sometimes it's not even just the definition. It is at what backdrop is the definition coming from? So someone like that, complacency will mean once anybody around you looks as if they are doing more than you're already complacent. Please, are you understanding me? So for them, once they see anybody having any kind of supposed results that look more than their own, it automatically means complacency for them. But for me, that I am coming from perspective of the important thing is being in God's will. My definition of complacency changes. It doesn't matter. You look as if you're ahead of me, it's fine. They have not told me to move. I am not complacent. I am where I'm supposed to be. And these backdrops makes all of the difference. Sometimes the reason why we have all of this conversation around, oh, is it complacent, is it content, is really, the question is really first of all about the backdrop. What backdrop are we using to, what is casting the light on what they mean? We used to start from there. Because if my backdrop is being in God's will and all of that, the meaning of that is that I am ensuring that it is God's will that define what complacency means to me. So there might be things that I am doing that might look complacent to the other person whose backdrop is different. But as far as I'm concerned, because I keep going to God, that God, is it where I'm supposed to be? They say yes. I'm here. It doesn't mean I'm complacent. Do you understand? Please let me know if you understand what I'm trying to say. The meaning of that, if I'm coming, now I'm talking about the perspective of God's will that I am coming from. It begins to give me a sense that the real difference between complacence and contentment is really, am I in step with where God wants me to be? Now, the way I say this sounds simple, but sometimes it's not as simple as that. Because our Holy Spirit, our sense of tradition and fears and things like that sometimes also color our sense of God's will. And that's where it becomes tricky. So you can be interpreting as God's will something that was not necessarily sponsored by God, but is sponsored by your sense of some kind of tradition and mindset that God has not been able to change yet. Yeah. So for me as a person, the way I'm learning, don't let me say I've learned, I'm learning to ask myself to sort of put myself in a place where I am guarding against contentment turning to complacency. Is basically two things. First is to keep going back to have a sense of, because my own backdrop is God's will, I keep going back to that same God and asking, Lord, is there things I'm supposed to be doing that I'm not doing? Do you understand? So the first is keep inquiring, seeing things like, oh God, sometimes I wonder if I'm supposed to be doing this kind of things. These are the kind of things that are in my heart. Are you sure that what I'm doing is not laziness? Do you understand? Basically, understanding that because I am not defining it for myself and I'm not defining it from other people's successes and all of that, I'm defining it from God. I have to go to him to ask him, what do you think about where I am now? That's first. The second part of, because our relationship with God is also set within context and environment and the things that we have heard and know, is to continue to open up my heart, to allow God to touch my mindset, to touch my senses of interpretation. Do you understand? Such that maybe 2 years ago, maybe I grew up in a, let me give you an example. Maybe I grew up in an environment, and we'll talk about it when we're talking about mindset. I grew up in an environment where all I've seen, I grew up in it. And when I say environment, it church environment, where all I see is that once people get married, they start having children, a good portion of their work and their life is just devoted to being wives and mothers, right? Do you understand? That's what I've seen for a long time. And, godly women doing this. The chances that it has influenced my mindset is there. Such that to even see the possibility of a will of God that involves me doing something different, we need God to first of all hit that mindset first. So 2 years ago, when God has not hit that mindset, I might be going back to God and asking God, oh, am I, okay, I'm a wife and a mother. I don't think I should be doing anything else. Is that okay? And I will keep feeling as if, oh, yes, that's okay. But as I come to God and and he has more space in my heart to hit that mindset, he begins to hit that one such that next time I can see clearer. So it's almost like I'm going to God as a mirror. Hey, please help me. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm going to God as if someone that is going to a mirror to go and see themselves, right? Right? But also the things that are around me has put things upon that mirror. So there are two works that must be happening at the same time. There's the work of keep going to the mirror, which is a part of you, keep going to God, am I in the right place? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do? But also the part of ensuring that you keep cleaning the mirror. So that every time your reflection is getting clearer. Please let me know if you understand what I'm saying. Please let me know if I'm not speaking above your understanding. Does anybody understand what I'm trying to say? So for me, the issue of complacency and contentment for me is an issue of, am I in step with God? Simple. To be honest, that question boils down to that for me. For me, that's my backdrop. It's not, am I here at this age, I'm supposed to have those ones. That once you hear people talk like that, it tells you their backdrop. That's not my backdrop. My backdrop is not at 30, I must own something or be something. Is, am I in step with God for my own journey? That's first. But I also understand that, so basically I want to hear God, but I also understand that my hearing is influenced by do you understand, the environment, the things I'm set, the context I'm set into. So as I'm going to keep on showing that I'm hearing, I'm also sort of doing things that help me clean my ears, all at the same time. So the question, to be honest, like I said, it comes down to, am I where I'm supposed to be? Yes, thank you, Adeike. Yes. So for someone like Peter, they could not have even told him to go and preach to Cornelius without, first of all, addressing the fact that he will never agree that Gentiles has a place in God's kingdom. So as much as they were going to speak to him, they need to first of all clear the things that will not allow him to hear it. And that's where the concept of the issue of mindset is just as much a spiritual battle as it's a mental battle. So both of them have to be going hand in hand. Remember, we are comfortable with journeys. So it's okay for you to be in a place where you were thinking you were content, and 2 days later, you began to realize that, oh, maybe this contentment was just complacence. The important thing is that light has done. It's not for you to not be thinking, oh my God, and I used to think no, light has done, so move. There's no need to be crying over split milk. Okay, I hope that helps. I'm just adding that in addition to the things that Favor has said. But I love the way Favor said it, because contentment is actually a state of the soul. The way I like to say it to myself, I have code words for things like this. When I think of contentment, I think about just liking my life. The issue is not if someone else think my life is great is, do I like my life? Because trust me, and this is what part of the thing that Jesus was teaching, people think that it is more things that makes you more contented. It's not true. Anybody that have experienced greater things in their life knows that the more you experience, the more the more you desire. So things cannot ever bring you to contentment. That's why Jesus was saying that the life of a person is not in the abundance of things they have. Because the funny thing is that the more things you see, the more things you see is possible, and the more you think that there's more to, and you will always be in a perpetual state of wanting more. The question is, the one that you have, do you like your life? That's where I used to ask myself, do I like my life? Do I look at my life right now and do I like it? And I use that word like, not love. Because love can feel like, oh, yes, I can still love it, but not liking it. I'm asking, do you like it? And if I don't like it at a particular point, I'm asking why. Is it because I've been put under pressure by looking at other things? Or is this a call? Is this God's way of calling me to something bigger? Because sometimes God put that sense of discomfort in you. And that's why we cannot always think that discomfort is a bad thing. Sometimes they are pointers. Sometimes it's you that put yourself in that place. That want to go and look at the thing they did not send you and you begin to uncomfortable with your own life. But sometimes it is actually God that is pulling your attention. I think I need to move now. But I hope some of the things I've shared about this, and including things that Favor I've shared, is helpful. Please let me know if it's helpful. And up until this point, what are you understanding? Because now we are wrapping up. Up until this point, what are you understanding? Please share some of your most important stuff with me. What's standing out for you? I'm waiting in the chat. What has stood out for you as we're having all of these conversations? I'm waiting. What is standing out for you? Oh, let me just say complacency is refusing to move at God's pace. Yes. I love that word, pace. That's the word. Yeah. About God's pace. I'm waiting. Okay. I see all the Olamide that have been hearing all the things that I've been saying that I'm sweating like this. You guys should not do this to me. Okay. Maculata said, even as we are contented, we must be sure that we are where where God wants us to be per time. Yeah. In fact, what I'm trying to say is that the contentment itself is about being sure. Is that thing you are saying that we are sure that we are where God wants us to be, is what I am defining as contentment. Do you understand? It's not a byproduct of contentment, it is contentment itself. Already said contentment is being in sync with God. Okay, thank you guys. So I'm going to be wrapping up. I'm still looking for more because I imagine that people are typing, but I'm going to be wrapping up with this. The idea, I was talking about the idea when you understand that you're in a journey, you understand that the more you live out your meaning, the more you find it. So the conversation of purpose and meaning is not just people like to, I hear people say things like, I'm in the phase where I'm discovering my purpose. Have you heard things like that before? And they say sometimes in a way that makes us if there's discovering that is different from doing, or discovering that is different from living out. What I'm trying to argue for here is the fact that these things, they work hand in hand. Is that you live things out that you understand them more. And as you understand them more, the evidence that you're understanding it more is that you are living it out. So it's a loop relationship. As you are coming into a stronger sense of your life's meaning and your life's purpose, you are living from that place. It influences, it influences your disposition towards your own life, your disposition towards the world, the things, your actions, the things you do, the way you act towards people, the things that, basically it influences everything. And the more it influences it, the more you actually understand it more. That's my point. Mercy say what stood out for me in this meeting is being a human being, which involves doing what I have to do at God's space. being content, not complacent, knowing your backdrop. Folakemi says, journey to my meaning is unique to me. I must make God my reference. Temitope says, my meaning is not defined by externalities. Sarah says, Ololade says, I learned that I don't have to drown myself in activities to have a sense of meaning. Yes, absolutely, sis, absolutely. We have too many young people who are already put in a place where they are drowned. That's the word, drowned in activities. Unless say contentment is me liking my life. That's my own definition, Sha. You don't have to adopt it, but it's a way I like to think about it. It's an easy way that works for me. So basically, to summarize some of the things I've been talking about, the idea is that meaning is the concept of meaning is a journey. We have to be open to the concept of it being a journey. The fact that, and I'm going to use Adeike's words, is a journey of trust, of knowing that there's one who gave us the meaning in the first place, and whose leading and directions we can trust and can follow. And we know as we follow it, we are walking in the reality of who he has made us. There is, I can say something in the chat, I'm going to come back to it. There is the part of the vehicle. The idea of the vehicle is the idea that the means through which we live out all of these things. And I was arguing for the fact that we cannot only think of stages and platforms and spotlights, but we also think of our everyday life, our eating, our drinking as part of this, as part of the vehicle through which we convey, we understand and express our purpose and the meaning of our lives. And the last one, which I like to talk about a lot, is anchors, because there's a possible pitfall of thinking of your life as a journey. Not because the idea of thinking of a life as a journey is bad, but because we as humans, we have penchant for extremes and for errors. That's the truth. Part of the pitfall is the idea that, because it's a journey, we just keep going, whatever, anyhow. But the truth is that if you are taking a journey towards a certain thing, there has to be signs on the road that shows you that you are going the right journey. Because there's the idea of journey, like, you just keep continuing. But it's also the idea of wrong journey. You can go on the wrong journey. You can literally go on the wrong journey. So there's the idea of things in our lives that feels like anchors. Just the way if you're coming from Lagos to Ibadan, or from Ibadan to Lagos, there are things on the road that shows you that you're on the right road. If you are coming from Ibadan to Lagos and 6 hours later, you have still not seen Redeem Church, you have gone somewhere wrong. Because Redeem Church is kind of like an anchor on the road that shows that you're on the right journey, you're on the right road. So in the same way, there are things and I'll give you an example of what I mean. There's supposed to be things about who we are becoming and how we are interacting with the things that we are doing that should give us anchor that, yes, I don't know it all, but this path that I'm taking is leading me somewhere correct. And sometimes it's even in simple things. Like even the things that you are doing that you're calling assignments. How does it grate on your soul? You say something, an assignment from God, but every time you do it, it leaves you in a place where you are constantly stressed, overscheduled, it's almost as if the thing is oppressing your soul. It should make you sit down and ask yourself, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? You said, you are doing something, you have a business, something like that. And again, it keeps putting you in a place where you are becoming a lot more short-tempered, you don't mind having that dog eat dog kind of mentality. It already shows you, because if you understand that the journey is not just a journey of activities, but a journey of who you are becoming. And remember, we are talking about who you are becoming. That is not just an issue of the status that you are, or the status or influence that you are accumulating. Is the idea of who you are, regardless of whatever season that you are in. Once you are seeing that person that you are becoming is becoming less and less than the kind of desire in your heart, the kind of thing that you believe that God will have you become. Those are like anchors that are already showing you that something is wrong here. You are doing God's will, but in quote, at least you believe you are, but you are, and I don't know why I keep saying this one again. You are constantly stressed, constantly overshadowed, constantly in a place of pressure, of just almost like you're in a cage. You should sit down and ask. You should not just say, oh, I'm doing it because God said, sit down. God is not a lot of confusion. Sit down and ask. There should be anchors of peace, of stability, of a growing sense of security, of a growing sense of person, of a growing sense of knowing that your life is not in the things that you do, of a growing sense of knowing that the greatness of your life is not just in your results, but in who God has made you. That should be giving you a sense that you are on the right journey. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So we should look out for these anchors, so we are certain that we are actually going the right journey. The anchors of who we are becoming, the anchors of how the things that we are doing, even in the name of doing purpose, is grating on our person, on our relationships. You know, it amazes me. For me, and I'm saying this as a person. One of the things that I tell myself is, I personally, I know that we've been told, and even me, I say it sometimes, the idea that, this thing about how new season, sometimes it will lead you to, to see you severe certain relationships, we had things like, certain relationship cannot get you to the next level and things like that. But we should question it if every time your sense of purpose always involves the fact that you never have long-standing friends. It should make you sit down and ask a little bit of question. Do you understand? Like, every single time you excuse the fact that your relationship keeps getting severed under the idea that, oh, it's because they could not follow me to the next level. All of these things we say. They should be anchors for you. How is your pursuit of so-called purpose impacting on your most important relationships? How is it impacting? Is your family suffering because you are trying to pursue purpose? Those are things that should give you a sense of anchor, to make you ask questions that, am I really going on the right journey? To put all of things I've said together, first is the fact that our concept of purpose is an entirety of our lives. The idea of ministry is a all-encompassing view of our lives. And because of that, it must include our everyday. We must view our everyday from that perspective. It must we must go on that. It must be embraced from a sense of journey, of understanding that there will always be more to know. We don't know everything, and we have to be humble to accept that. There must be the idea that these things is seated in a strong sense of our person, of who we are, our being, that is not just tied to the result of the things that we do. It must be seated in a sense of flexibility, where we are flexible under the hand of God. And as we are going on the journey, we must be seeing anchors that shows that we're on the right journey. If you are pursuing purpose, how has it changed you? If you are pursuing purpose, are you a better person? Are you a better person today than you were 3 years ago? And when I'm saying better, I'm not saying you have more results. I'm saying, as a person, is the flavor of your person and personality getting better as you are supposedly pursuing purpose? If it's not getting better, it should tell you that you are not seeing redeem more. You say you are going to Lagos. Do you understand? That's I think I can put my thoughts together now. My next question will be questions. But before I will take questions, but I also want to hear what has stood out the most for you in this session. We said a lot of things. What are you going on with? Supposed to wrap up in the next 4 minutes. What are you going on with from this session? Or at least one of the things you are going on with the session. Please share with me. I will look forward to you sharing more even on the chat. But on our group chat with the community manager take, but share with me, what are you going on with today? And if you have a question that we can quickly take, please let me know. Oh, Esther already said contentment is an understanding that your worth or definition of yourself isn't based on what you have or we achieve, but instead of a soul satisfied by being in the will of his maker. Amazing. Love that definition, Esther. Thank you. You sound so much like your sister. Okay, I'm talking to Esther Okoli because I remember that we have like 3 Esthers. Adirin Sola is telling me what she's going on with, that our purpose is beyond our activities and wins. Immaculata is saying in purpose, the person we are becoming is even more important than the activity of purpose itself. Yes, because it's the person that is going to the other side of eternity, not the activities. So what the activity does to the person is more important than the activity itself. Holly says, meaning is all about me, not the external factor, but at every stage, who am I? Okay. Esther says, my purpose is my obedience to God per day. Absolutely. I love that because, to be honest, that's simple way that I think of purpose now. I no longer stress myself in terms of purpose. What am I becoming 20 years time? Where will I be? What kind of status or money will I don't care about that is. Am I in obedience every day? That's the way I think of purpose too. I'm waiting to see more, and if there's any question in my last 2 minutes. So what are you going on with? What is the important thing that you are going on with today? I'm waiting to see more. I'm looking into the charts. I imagine that we're typing. I want us to be out of here by 8:30 Nigerian time. Favor says, I think I have a more concise description for what I was trying to say. Contentment is a state of rest of the soul that comes from a secured identity. Complacency is the false sense of rest that comes from a will that is not ready to take responsibility or partner with God and still worship. Amazing. The will of a content person is free for God to engage, but the contented person has withdrawn their will so they don't move when God wants them to. Amazing. Favor, I think that's a very, very, very good definition. I think you should have it somewhere in a place that you can share. Please do. I don't know if you're on the group, maybe you also share it with us there. Immaculata says, I love the part about anchors. Yeah, seeing signs that we're on the right path. Amazing. Mercy says, what I'm going on with is that purpose is a journey and I must be observant of the anchors in my journey. Lastly, my purpose is knowing what I have to do per day and time. Awesome. I have 1 more minute. Let me see if I can hear from 1 or 2 more persons before we call it a night. I imagine there are no questions, but in case there is a question later after now, you can please drop it on the group and the community manager will let me know. And hopefully I'm able to maybe answer that. But yeah, let me see if I can hear from 1 or 2 more persons. Okay, Esther says there's purpose in the things we consider so normal. Yes, yes, absolutely. If God thinks our eating and drinking is a worthy sacrifice of worship, we should think so too. We should think so too. Yeah, thank you, Esther. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. So you're going to get your assignments. Okay, Malola says purpose is whom I am actually becoming in my heart, not just about the activities I engage in. Amazing. I love the fact that what is standing out to everybody is different, because the truth is that we are different part of our lives, and the truth that we need for where we are might be a little bit different. So everything I've said might not necessarily be for you, but at least it's good for you to know the one that is yours. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. You're going to get your assignment. The assignment is actually going to be asking you very reflective questions based on the things that we've talked about. You know, what does all of these things mean to you? So they are going to be based on some of our conversations. And we're going to get your assignments. Yeah, you get your assignment, you get the deadlines. And I am going to see you in 2 weeks, actually, 2 Saturdays from now, not Sunday now. I'm going to have it on a Saturday. And we couldn't have it yesterday because I had another session that I agreed to before we even started working on this. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. See you. We can continue our conversation. Whatever stood out for you, we can continue that on our group chat. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.